to The Block with Carl, Reed, and Blake Brockermeyer. I'm Emily Proud, and we have officially arrived at the midway point of the college football season. So it's a great time to do some evaluation, and we will pick the biggest games in a bit. But first, let's hit some stock up, stock down. And let's begin with up. We had a lot of Power 5 coaches fired earlier this season, which means we've got a lot of interim head coaches. And wouldn't you know it, interim coaches went undefeated last weekend. So impressive. But Carl, who out of the 5 winners from last weekend, that's Wisconsin, Georgia Tech, UAB, Arizona State, and Nebraska, who out of them has the best chance to earn that full-time job?
I think Jim Leonard at Wisconsin has the best chance. He's a legendary player at the University of Wisconsin, one of the bright young defensive coordinators in all of college football. I think if he can galvanize his team and continue to win games this fall, I think I would not be surprised to see them drop the interim tag and go with him. I know there's been a lot of talk about other coaches, about maybe a Lance Leipold, for example, maybe a Dave Aranda, but I do think that he has the driver's seat in track if he can keep them and win. He is very loved in the state of Wisconsin. He has a very big fixture in that community and in that state. And if he can continue to rally that team and get them to play, wouldn't surprise me at all to see him get the nod.
Yeah, some tough decisions ahead for those athletic directors at the universities, I guess, except for Georgia Tech, who is still looking for one. Well, how about the Ducks here, Blake? They are the definition of started from the bottom. We all remember that week 1 blowout where Oregon produced just 3 points in a loss to Georgia. But since then, they've now scored 41 points a game for the 5th straight game. Last time they did that was back in 2014 when they played for the national championship. We're not going to go there yet, but Blake, Dan Lanning is, of course, a defensive coach, but how has he and his staff maximized Bo Nix in this offense?
Well, Bo Nix is playing really well right now. They've, like you said, they've scored a lot of points the last few weeks. Their offense is rolling. Kenny Dillingham's doing a great job of putting them in a position to succeed on offense. A lot of explosive plays. They're running the ball well. They've got weapons at every position. And I think after you play Georgia week 1, everything after that seems a lot easier because that's, if not the best team in the country, at least one of the top 3. So they're clicking on all cylinders. Their defense is my biggest concern for them. Defensively, they're solid, but they're not where they will be in the next couple of years. I think they're struggle a little bit, but Bo Nix is really playing well, using his feet, but is putting the ball on point on most of his passes. So watched them against Washington State a couple of weeks ago. Very impressive, come from behind win. Their schedule is difficult ahead. They've still got some tough games, but real impressive job that they've done there after the first week of the season.
Yeah, after that first week, the big question mark was, are you going to let this define you, or are you going to come back from this? And to see a first-year head coach really rally his team and lead them to all of this success, Carl, how good is it to see what Lanning has done, in rebounding from that tough opener?
Well, I think that it's been great, and I think it proves that he was the right guy for the job and that he could make the decisions. Young coach coming out of being the defensive coordinator at Georgia. Kirby Smart said it after they played in week 1. Don't judge him by this game because the talent level is way different. And it's going to take a couple seasons before Oregon can recruit to have the kind of talent that a place like Georgia does. But they have focused in and they've been going on a roll lately. Oregon should be really excited right now about the trajectory and the future of their program.
Blake, real quick, I'm going to put you on the spot here. If, and this is a big if, Oregon wins out, goes 11-1, how difficult will it be for the College Football Playoff Committee to put them in with that one loss being what it was?
I mean, I think it would be a little bit difficult, but you have to also look at it. It's the first game under a new head coach and Dan Lanning. They've got new players. And so to go from what happened in the Georgia game to going undefeated the rest of the season, I think you have to definitely put them in the conversation. But they've still got a lot of tough games ahead of them. So I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. But if they do that, it would definitely be something that's going to be discussed.
It's just an interesting conversation. Thought I threw it out there. Let's go for a stock down. Iowa. Oh, Iowa. I don't know how many times we can explain just how ineffective this offense is, but the people of Twitter seem to enjoy me pointing out the fact that 119 FBS wideouts have more receiving touchdowns than Iowa's entire offense through the first 6 games. Carl, you saw this offense in person Saturday. First off, I'm sorry, but second off, what's the biggest issue there?
The biggest issue is recruiting. It's not scheme. Iowa's played like this for a long time. They put a ton of guys in the NFL playing this way, but they don't have some of the big time players you need at tailback, along the offensive line, and at receiver and tight end the way that they've had in the past. They've had some phenomenal guys going to the NFL. Everybody blames the scheme. The coach's son is an easy punching bag. But right now, this is more, in my opinion, a recruiting issue. I don't think that it's the they've won playing this way for an awfully long time. So you can't convince me that all of a sudden Kirk Ferentz doesn't know how to coach anymore. But recruiting has changed. Development has changed. The transfer portal has changed things. And so they're going to have to make some adjustments at Iowa. But I think that this is more of a recruiting issue than I think it is a schematic issue.
Okay, I like that you said that because a lot of people think that it is scheme and they think that maybe Ferentz should make a change with the play caller. But wouldn't you know it, I would hold your breath here because the position is currently held, as you said, by his son, Brian. So a tough move to make. And if you still aren't convinced that he's not going to do that, our 24/7 Sports Iowa team site reporter David Eichelt asked Ferentz if he should consider a change.
We won 10 games last year. I don't know if you're aware of that, but so I look at that, and we've won a lot of games since 2015. So, we're not doing well enough right now. I think that's fairly obvious.
Yeah, Blake, you heard him say it. Ferentz has had a lot of success. So given his resume, how much patience and trust should he get here?
I think you got to give him a pass this year. I mean, they've had a bad year. It looks like it's going to continue for sure. They haven't, like Carl said, that they haven't had much success on offense. But if you look at the history of Iowa over the last 10 years, they've consistently been one of the better programs in the country. They generally win 8 or 9 games a year. Every now and then they'll have a bad year, and then they usually rebound the next year. So I think I would give him a pass. If they did want to make a change on offense, or even if Coach Ferentz wanted to step down for some reason, I think LeVar Woods is a name to keep on the top of your head because he's an excellent coach. He played at Iowa as a defensive player, but he coached tight ends there for a few years. He's their special teams coach, and he's a guy that I think would be an excellent job, do an excellent job. Maybe if you reassigned, Brian Ferentz to the running game coordinator and LeVar Woods to the passing game coordinator, that's a way to kind of make everybody happy and kind of reshuffle the deck as far as the offense goes.
LeVar Woods, Blake, is definitely ready for his time. He should be in contention for head coaching jobs at several spots. A native of Iowa, he is also a legendary guy on the recruiting trail. He's got great relationships all over the country, has been the special teams coach for him. I do think it's difficult for a guy to fire his son or even remove his son. Blake, you have 4 sons. I have 3. It could get really, really cold at night in the house if you put one of mama's boys out of a job.
Yeah, that is a tough ask for sure. Carl, how many punts did you see on Saturday?
I saw quite a bit.
Quite a bit.
I saw quite a bit, and quite a bit on both sides. But that's the style of play. And when you don't have first to second round talent at a couple of those skill spots, then it hurts you when you're trying to play the game like that. But I do think that giving a guy like LeVar Woods an opportunity could really give them a jolt. And one of the reasons I'm saying that also is sometimes on coaching staffs, and Blake can attest to this because he's been in these rooms, the guy that's the OC might have a little more say than everybody else when it comes to the players that you're going to take in recruiting and some of those guys that you offer. I think that LeVar Woods would give them a jolt of energy that they need, and it would excite a lot of recruits across the country again about the University of Iowa.
Plenty other programs out there looking for a head coach need to keep him in mind as well. And speaking of, our next stock down is teams looking to hire Matt Rhule. Greg McElroy of ESPN tweeting this, quote, "I've been told there are very few college football jobs that Matt Rhule would take, none of which are currently and are unlikely to come open this year. Money changes everything, but with the offset in his Panthers contract, he'll be in no hurry. My bet is he is on TV in 23. Carl, a lot of teams will likely be pretty bummed if they don't get a shot to hire him, but should they be bummed?
You know, Matt Rhule is a good football coach, but I think that this is becoming one of the problems that we have in our profession and why a lot of the college programs can't get out the way, or even sometimes you see this in the NFL. A guy has 110-win season or at one place, or he had 2 at Temple, and then he has 1 at Baylor, and all of a sudden he's a coach in the National Football League and doesn't do well, and we think that he should be given one of the top college jobs in the country. And I don't necessarily agree with that. You have to show over a period of time some consistency at winning at a high level before you pay these guys all of this money or you give them these jobs. More times than not, a guy comes in and is a great organizer and he proves that, yeah, I can win with some other guys' kids and I can kind of change some culture. But let these coaches show you that over a period of time, they can consistently win, consistently recruit, and consistently manage, so you're not continuing to have to pay guys $40 million to stay at home. I think Matt Rhule is a good football coach, but by no means is he Nick Saban. By no means is he Kirby Smart or somebody that should be handed the keys to any job in the country without you vetting all the other candidates.
Yeah, for all the money he's making from the Carolina Panthers, I would be in no hurry myself. But I agree with Carl. He's known as a great kind of program turnaround. You know, he turned Temple around pretty quickly, and he turned Baylor around after they got in trouble a few years ago and got them going again. So he has a good reputation. He has a knack for speed and talent that he can recognize guys that maybe are a little bit under recruited. But I think he's a good coach. If I were the athletic director with all the money he's making from the Panthers, I would definitely lowball him. But I don't think he's going to be in much of a hurry to take at least the jobs that are open right now. I don't see him taking any of those jobs.
Yeah, no matter where he goes or what he does for work next year, the Panthers owe him $40 million. So that definitely changes your mindset when you're deciding what to do. I will happily watch a lot of college football for $40 million if I have to. So speaking of, we'll be busy. This weekend slate includes an unreal amount of great games, and we get a breather from the Iowa offense as they're on a bye, so that's a plus. So let's make some picks. Here is our slate. We start with a top 10 Big Ten showdown between Penn State and Michigan. We got Oklahoma State, TCU, NC State at Syracuse, Alabama, Tennessee, and then we'll finish up with everyone's favorite segment, our block lock. So here's where things stand between Blake and Carl. Blake really adding to his lead last week, crushing it against the spread, like a 59% win percentage. It's pretty darn good. Carl, though, still plenty of time to make up some ground here. So let's start. I know it's not close, but that's all right. We got it halfway through the season, plenty of time. And we saved the best for first here. Penn State and Michigan, a ranked Big Ten battle at the Big House. The first real test for both of these squads, as neither have faced a single ranked opponent this season. So we will learn a lot about these teams. Carl, what exactly do we learn?
We learn is Manny Diaz defense for real, and we learn is J.J. McCarthy really the guy that everybody thinks he is, as they get a chance to really do battle. That is the matchup that I'm most interested to see. Diaz has revived the Penn State defense so far. Harbaugh really turned a lot of heads by going with McCarthy over Cade McNamara. This is very interesting. Also, we know that Nick Singleton, the freshman tailback from Penn State, is going to be a factor. I think this is going to be a lower scoring game, and I got Michigan winning this one 24-21.
Yeah, it's going to be a battle of the trenches because both teams want to run the football, want to be physical on the line of scrimmage, and both defenses are excellent at stopping the run. So it's going to be a game that might be back and forth, kind of feel each other out, see who can scheme each other up in the run game, and then maybe take some shots and play action pass. Penn State had a bye week last week, which gives them advantage, but I feel like Michigan's had a bye week for most of their season, so they're going to be fairly healthy as well. So I like Michigan at home. I think that gives them a big advantage. J.J. McCarthy is going to definitely have his work cut out for him because he's going to see the best secondary he's seen. They've got some elite corners at Penn State, and so he's going to have to make some plays in the air. But I've got Michigan 30, Penn State 21, and I think the difference is being a home game for Michigan.
Penn State has not won on the road against a top 5 team since 1994. That is a long time ago, so we'll see if that changes on Saturday. Well, right now, 2 teams in the wide-open Big 12 are undefeated, and come Saturday, there will only be one. The Horned Frogs playing host to the Pokes, and they are the 3.5-point favorites here. Blake is the best team in the Big 12 playing in this game.
I don't think so. Both of these teams could be the best team in the Big 12. I still think Texas is the best team in the Big 12 when everyone's healthy, but we're not talking about Texas. So we're going to talk about running game and passing game because both defenses struggle in the air, and Spencer Sanders leads the Big 12 in passing, but guess who's second? Max Duggan. So both of these teams are going to want to establish the running game and to open up the passing game. I think it's going to be a really tight game back and forth. Both teams are on a roll. Oklahoma State's one of those teams every single year you kind of count off and say, these guys aren't for real, and then they always win and deliver on Saturday. So I'm going to pick them this week. I usually pick against them, but I'm going to go with them, which is good if you're a TCU fan. So I've got Oklahoma State 31, TCU 30, in maybe one of the best games of the weekend.
Blake, I'm always curious to why it doesn't seem like Mike Gundy always gets the respect he deserves. Really has been one of the really good, consistent college football coaches in all the college football. I think that Mike Gundy really is who everybody thinks Matt Rhule is, but that's a different conversation for another day. I think that Oklahoma State comes out. This is going to be a high-scoring game. I think it's going to come down to maybe who has the ball last, and I'm going to hedge my bet that they're going to be Oklahoma State, and they're going to win 38-35.
Ooh, Blake, I don't know why you're talking yourself down. We showed how well you've been doing this year. TCU should be nervous if you're picking against them. You've been right most of the time, so this will be a good one. Carl, I can't just throw Blake under the bus by asking him that question and not asking you. Is the best team in the Big 12 playing on Saturday in this game?
Well, I think that you have to go with the winner just based on them being undefeated. But I do think with Texas getting Quinn Ewers back, we're going to have to revisit this conversation down the road because the Longhorns are looking like a completely different team when Ewers is at quarterback. Maybe they have to break out that mullet wig after all.
Please. We will save that conversation for another day, but you better put that thing on. I need to see that in person. The third of 5 ranked conference matchups we're picking today. That is nuts. An ACC Atlantic matchup made for March. Ranked NC State and also ranked and undefeated Syracuse. Blake, as a noted Pack backer, how does the Orange fare against them?
I think that they're in the driver's seat because, they had an easy game the last game, basically a bye week. And then they've got Devin Leary is out for North Carolina State. I would think so, and so that's going to be the difference because as good as North Carolina State's defense is, they got to have a guy behind the center that can lead that offense, and I think he's a difference maker in this game. Syracuse has played well at home. Their schedule hasn't been exactly the toughest in the world, but they're still playing the who's on there. So. Give them credit for that. Their quarterback is playing really well right now. I think Syracuse wins this game 16-10 in a very low-scoring game.
Now, whoa. All summer long, right, I heard you talk about NC State to the point where you had me believing they were going to win the national championship, right? And so now you're picking Syracuse to beat them. I'm going to go the other way here. I know that Devin Leary's not going to play, but I think that if NC State is the program that everybody's saying that they are, they've arrived to be, that defense steps up and plays well, and the backup quarterback comes in and makes some plays. I'm going to go with NC State right here over Syracuse, 21-18. It's time for NC State to show that they really are for real in the ACC.
What world are we living in? Are you guys like switched bodies, Freaky Friday, something here? I mean, we know Blake loves NC State, but yeah, the quarterback is a pretty important position on a football
team. He threw
team.
me off with that one, Emily.
I tricked him. I'm trying to trick him so I get another win on him.
There we go. It's all strategy here. I love it.
Right.
Guys, we're just cruising through Power 5 conferences here. We got the Big 10, Big 12, ACC. How about the Pac-12? Number 7 USC and number 20 Utah. Ahead of the season, we kind of thought this game could decide the Pac-12. So, Carl, who's feeling the most pressure in this one?
Well, everybody's feeling pressure in a game like this because of all the implications. You got to go with USC, though, because at 6-0, they are still very much so in play to get a playoff bid and potentially play for a national championship if they can get it done. I think that this is going to be a game where you're going to see some timely scoring and you're going to see a couple of key stops. But I think in the end, USC is going to get one more stop than Utah, and I got the Trojans winning 30-28.
This is a must win for Utah. Losing a game at home versus UCLA last week really threw a wrench in the Pac-12 standings for them. So they have to win this game. This game is at night. Kyle Whittingham will have this team ready to go. And I think they win 38-33. And it's going to be a very good, close game, but it's going to come down to the end. And I think Utah's got them.
I like it. Looking forward to this one. Well, if you knew when Josh Heupel took over for Jeremy Pruitt and a broken volunteers program, his squad would host College Game Day twice in just his second season, well, you were lying. It's the third Saturday in October, but will it be Tennessee's first win over a Nick Saban-led Tide? Carl, let's start with you.
You know, Shaquille O'Neal used to have this saying when he played for the Lakers where he would say, "We the champs until we ain't the champs no more," right? And Alabama has dominated this game, and they've dominated the SEC. And I know every single year or every couple of years, it seems like people pile on and say Alabama looks vulnerable, Alabama's down. And I think Tennessee is playing great football. Hendon Hooker at the quarterback position, paired with Josh Heupel, has been a match made in heaven. I don't know if Tennessee has the defense yet to slow down Alabama. And so I'm going to go with Alabama winning the shootout 41-35.
Can I throw this out to you here, though, Carl?
Yes,
Tennessee has the 7th best run defense in the nation. They're holding teams to 2.3 yards per carry. So, yes, that's secondary. Some question marks. But does that change your mind at all, especially with an Alabama team that we know has been running the ball really well with Jahmyr Gibbs and whoever's playing at quarterback?
Well, Gibbs plays on this team. I don't think they've played anybody yet like Jahmyr Gibbs.
What about Abanaconda up at Pitt? He ran for 320 yards. He's pretty good back.
Who did he do that against?
Okay. Fair pick. We got to bring in Blake to this conversation. We know you're not giving us a pick, but can you give us maybe a key to this game, Blake?
For Alabama, they got to stop Tennessee on first and second down. Tennessee wants to run the football. They play tempo, go fast, all that. But at the end of the day, they want to run the football to set up their play-action pass game. Most of their passing yards are through play-action pass. Alabama's got to stop them and make them throw the ball on third and long, third and medium. And then Alabama's cornerbacks and secondary are going to get tested with their wide splits. They're going to take shots, run their choice routes. And so Tennessee's going to throw it up. They've got a couple of really good receivers that have stepped up. And so, they want to either draw a flag or take the deep shots, and they've been having a lot of success with it this year. So those are the two things that I think that I'm going to keep an eye on as far as how the game is played out.
I love it. There's another annual tradition that happens with this game, and we bring up all the things that were relevant the last time that Tennessee beat Alabama, and I'm just going to throw this out here. Gas was $1.58 the last time Tennessee won this game. How much does that hurt your soul, guys? $1.58. So it's been a long time. Gas a little bit higher than that now here. Well, Blake, we got to make things even here, so let's pick number 4 Clemson at Florida State. And on Monday's show, we talked extensively about Clemson rolling lately, but is this their toughest test?
I think it'll be a tough test. Florida State at home is going to definitely show up. Florida State's has really upgraded their team through the transfer portal, like we've talked about most of the season. Lately, though, they've kind of looked a little iffy. So I think Clemson gets it done on the road, 28-24, and I think DJU will continue to hopefully keep progressing the offense forward. And Clemson's defense is going to be elite, like they always are. So it'll be more of a test than normal for Clemson, but I think that they get it done on the road.
What does Florida State need to do to make this more competitive than it has been in years past? What do you need to see from the Seminoles?
Well, their defense has got to create turnovers. I think defensively, they've got to create turnovers. They've got to fluster DJU, make him throw balls that off timing, interceptions, strip the ball. They're going to have to create a couple of turnovers defensively in order to stay in this game.
I like it. All right. Finally, guys, 0 for 2 in last week's block locks, but we're giving Blake a little bit of a pass here. I know you're shaking your head. You picked Kentucky, and we didn't know until much later that the Cats wouldn't have Will Levis. But for Carl, absolutely no pass whatsoever. You dug your own grave. And might I remind you that this is a lock, okay? This is like another word for a guarantee. It's not the time to get cute and pull the underdog card. So let's start with Blake. Who's your block lock this week?
I've got Ole Miss over Auburn. I think this will be Brian Harson's last game at Auburn. They have a bye week coming up the next week. I think this will be it for him. I've got Ole Miss in a big win, 35-14 against Auburn.
Whoa, hey, are you saying that this is a dead man walking, Blake? This is it?
You locking up Harson's last game too?
Dead man walking. This is it for him. Okay. So they got a bye week coming up the next week. They've kind of closed down interviews. You can tell that something's probably on the horizon at Auburn. And if they're going to do it during the season, this is the time to do it.
All right. So 2 locks for Blake then. Locking up Ole Miss and locking up Brian Harson's last game at Auburn. We'll see what happens there. Carl, would you like to redeem yourself?
I need to redeem myself, and I need the Hogs to come through for me this weekend because I have the Arkansas Razorbacks, who are 1.5-point favorites over BYU, beating BYU 30-20. I think that Arkansas, after a couple of tough losses, is going to. An SEC team is supposed to beat BYU, especially a quality one like the University of Arkansas. Sam Pittman is doing a great job with that program, and Arkansas gets back in the winner's circle this weekend with the win over BYU.
Got to get KJ Jefferson back for sure. They've looked rough without him. So obviously, quarterback important to have on that team. Guys, thank you so much for all your great picks. Can't wait to see how you do, and we will update you next week. As always, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to the 24/7 Sports YouTube page. Enjoy all the action, and we'll see you Monday.